let's get to the debunk.
It just.
You have a new column in the Jacobin saying, yes, we can have a $20 minimum wage, just like the great Rashida Tlaib proposes. Let's check her out here talking about just that.
For $2.13 as a tipped employees pay $2.13 per hour federally. Some states, of course, here in Michigan, it's over $3.50 or so. But think about that for 1 minute. And people cannot live on those kinds of wages. And we can't allow people to be living off of tips, relying on tipped wages. It's just not, or whatever they call it, tipped income, because it's just not enough to support our families. But I also want to always tell a story, because big fights like this one, $15. By the way, when we started it, it should have been $15. Now I think it should be $20. Picture America Rising here. It should be $20. No, it should be $20 an hour. $18 to $20 an hour at this point is everything, all the costs. And so if they say, oh, this is going to raise the cost, but I can tell you, milk has gone up. Eggs has gone up. Everything has gone up. The cost of food has gone up. The cost of a lot of things that we need has gone up already.
And then we have, is this a tweet from Ben Shapiro?
Yeah, there's a little rogues gallery of tweets, but the Ben Shapiro one gives you the idea of all of them.
Okay, go ahead. Ben Shapiro goes, they should make $1,000 an hour and cure income inequality inside of a month, obviously. And that's a quote tweet of the ever grotesque and odious Megan McArdle of, do I hear 25? Which is a great example of her patented humor. I will say, as a wage increase person, I'm very confident that, in my opinion, the Washington Post overpays her. Ben, yes. Let's talk wages. Why can't we have $20 minimum wage?
Yeah. I mean, and we just spent like the last 5 minutes laughing our asses off at a borderline white nationalist who's actually funny. Megan McArdle.
I would say a pure white nationalist who is not funny. Who is funny, yes.
Yeah, Megan McArdle is not and never will be funny.
Right.
But in any case, so the big right wing argument against Tlaib's proposal is this McArdle Shapiro thing, that just to sort of treat it as if it were this obvious absurdity, like, oh, they just keep shifting it up, right? Like, it was bad enough that all these people were demanding, $15 an hour to flip hamburgers, but now they want 20, and, so what's next? 25, 50, 1,000? And it's just sort of treated like that the only reason anybody would propose such a thing is that they were just kind of pulling numbers out of thin air. And, it's like, to hear these people, well, I'm not going to dignify it with the word critique, but to hear them slam the proposal, you would think that she just said that every, minimum wage union worker should be given a unicorn. What she actually said, like she gave a pretty tight bit of reasoning when she explained in that brief clip why now we should be talking about. She said the range should be $18 to $20 an hour, and actually, if you look online, you can kind of play. People can kind of play with some of these numbers themselves. There's a website called www.in2013dollars.com, which is a CPI inflation calculator, so they can see like, oh, how much is $15 in 2012 when the movement got started for the Fight for 15 movement. How much was that worth in 2013, 2014? What's the equivalent that you need to have the same purchasing power in 2017, 18, 19? And then if we make assumptions that inflation will continue to go up as it has been, what's it going to be in a few years from now? Particularly the bill the House passed last month, of course, knowing it would die in the Senate. But, it's still a huge symbolic victory. It's still a huge show of force for the Fight for 15 movement. But that wasn't even going to fully come into effect until 2025. And in 2025, even making very conservative assumptions about inflation, right? So, In other words, assuming that inflation is going to only continue at exactly the same rate over the course of the next 6 years that it has been for the last 7 since 2012, that there isn't going to be any increase in the rate of inflation overall. That's still you'd still need like a little over $18 to get the purchasing power of $15 in 2012, and so that's the sort of key point. And it's also a little ridiculous to treat $15 in 2012 as if this should be the upper limit of what low-wage workers could possibly, reasonably demand.
Right.
That like that's it, right? That and not a cent more. Because let's be honest about this. Whereas obviously there's like the reason that $15 was the demand all along is that like it sounded. It sounded achievable. It would be enough to bring a lot of people out of poverty. But if certainly if you live in New York, if you live in LA, if you live in Seattle, like there are a lot of people, there are a lot of places where the cost of living is such that that's not really going to bring you out of poverty.
Right.
And so this idea that something that like saying, hey, look, this bill was going to go into effect in 2025, even assuming that Democrats hold on to the House, but also win the Senate, within the next couple of cycles. Like by the time anything would actually probably go into effect, you'd probably need significantly more than $18 to even be equivalent to $15. So like this idea that like, oh, this is just like magic fairy dust and, giving everybody a unicorn, to throw back at them something they like to say about everybody else just doesn't really seem to reveal much of an understanding of economics.
Well, there you have it. Ben Burgis, as always, immensely appreciate you. Read Ben's columns in the Jacobin, buy his book, Give Them an Argument, Logic for the Left, and become his patron today. It's Ben Burgis Patreon, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, wait, really quick, Ben, actually. One question before you go from Cocaine Socialist. What's Ben's dog's name?
Lucy.
Lucy. Thank you, Ben.
All right. Thank you, Michael.
That's great. You've just watched a Michael Brooks show video, and you can watch all of our full main live shows every Tuesday night at around 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and subscribe to get all of the clips you want. We're covering the globe. We're focusing on international relations, the intellectual dark web. We're having fun. We're doing deep dives with a lot of amazing guests. Of course, become a patron for the whole thing at patreon.com/TMBS, or subscribe to this YouTube channel and help us keep growing and get that content out there. Subscribe below.